Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel, Julia McNeil Crafts. So today it's time for Dawn and Julia Create, and it's my turn. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to this. I love colouring on craft. I have probably not done it in about 5 years though, and it's something that I used to do a lot, and I keep meaning to, but it takes so long to colour with pencils that I've just not got round to it. So sometimes when there's something in my head that I really want to do and I've just not got round to it, I turn it into a Dawn and Julia Create, because then I know I absolutely have to. So this was built around the fact that I wanted to do that. So what we have is, we have 2 sets of stamps. We have Celeste Harris and we have Stamplementals 2. We have the Curious Skies stencil because it goes so well with Celeste. I'll come to that in a minute. We've got our colouring pencils. What I also included was a black ink pad and an embossing ink pad and 1 embossing powder of your choice, because I love the look of white with craft. And again, it's not something that I've done in ages, so I was thinking of like it being able to emboss in a white powder was just something that I fancied doing. Again, because I like white and craft together, we've got white gesso, a black and white pen, and just because I love Dawn so much, I've also included an added sheet of white paper, because I know she prefers to stamp off a project and then stick it on afterwards, so she wasn't like panicking about doing 1 layer cards and stuff like that. I added an extra sheet of white paper. So the brief is to make 2 craft cards and 1 craft tag. So that's the brief. I'm just going to pop my big box of pencils to the side. I probably, when it comes to colouring in, I will most likely do that on speed up, because yeah, it will take a while. But when we get to that stage, we will do that. So I'm going to start off, and I think what I fancy doing is creating a fancy edged card. So I'm just going to grab one of my pencils, and I'm going to get my stencil, and I'm just going to draw down that like so. And I don't know that I like that. I'm going to choose a different cloud configuration. So that's the advantage of the fact I've done that in pencil. I can just change that now. I'm going to try this instead. Right, let's see if I prefer the look of that. Yeah, I think I prefer the look of that. It made a difference in my head. It really did. So I'm going to just cut around that now with my scissors, and then that way I've created a little fancy edged card. Ooh, which I think could be quite interesting. So I didn't have this in my head when I came to the brief. As I said, the brief was purely in that I keep meaning to sit and colour with my colouring pencils. It's something that I've not done in ages. I'm more confident with my markers, so I tend to stick to my markers. But it is something I used to do years ago, and I thought, do you know what? I'd really do it again. And then, as I said, when it comes to actually getting round to stuff, I know that if I put it in a Dawn and Julia Create, it will. That's okay that we've got that bit of white, because I'm going to emphasise that anyway. And what I quite like about that is, because of the nature of Kraft Card, the other side of it is a slightly different colour. So even though we've not got a huge like difference or fancy backing paper behind there, I mean, you could stamp something out, it still works, I think. Right, I'm going to grab a spare bit of scrap paper. That's not a spare bit of scrap paper, that's the back of my stamp set. The trouble is, you see, I've tidied up a little bit and now I can't find the thing. Right, there we go, we'll do that, and I'm just going to grab my gesso. I think I'm going to keep this card very simple. The bulk of it is going to be in the colouring. Right, so I'm just going to, as I said, grab that. I'm just getting a tiny little bit, and then I'm just going to, she says a tiny bit, needing more. I'm just going to brush that around the edges. Just emphasise that. I'm actually going to go in a circular motion because I'm preferring the way that looks against the craft. So I just really, really delicately, almost like I maybe would with a distress ink or inking something. I just want to emphasise this cloud shape a little bit, and I could later on emphasise it with doodles and things, but for the minute this is working for me. I'm just going to do that and then decide. Yeah, I quite like that. I'm going to actually keep going with that idea now. Originally I was just going to do it at the top to emphasise the clouds. I think I'm going to do it all the way around just to frame it a little bit. So I've no idea what Dawn's done. She told me that she really enjoyed it, that she giggled all the way through it, and then I just said to her what I've said to you now, going, oh well, I did that because I've not coloured on Kraft in so long. And she's like, oh, I didn't think of colouring with my pencil, so I'm just wondering what on earth she's actually done with her pencils if she wasn't colouring with them. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to know, what were you actually doing with your pencils, Dawn, if you weren't colouring with them? So yeah, I am going to be over there 6 o'clock on Saturday checking out what exactly Dawn has managed to do with her pencils. We do love winding each other up. I have to say, Dawn was doing a live on Tuesday on her Facebook group, so she tends to do a live normally every other Tuesday. It's not like set in stone, but it's normally every other Tuesday. So she does a live on her Facebook page, Shiny Silver Treasures, and I do a live on my page, Julia McNeil Crafts, on most Mondays. So if you ever want to check us live, we did a joint live together, which was fun. I actually have that on my computer, which I'm needing to sort of edit into sort of YouTube friendly format so that you can see that. But yeah, we were winding each other, and of course the snot green got mentioned because, you know, I have to. Everyone would be disappointed if I didn't mention it. But then we were talking about how we need to invent a Dawn and Julia create cocktail, and it's got to be a snot green colour. I think somebody suggested like creme de menthe and Baileys. So yeah, if Dawn and I eventually meet, if this world becomes slightly more pleasant for us to be allowed to travel and see each other, etc., we will have to create a Dawn and Julia create cocktail. Right, so I've done that, and let's just edge that in white a little bit, which I think kind of works. So I'm now hoping, should have maybe measured this first. Ah, pantaloonies. Right, so I was thinking, can I just fit her on? I can fit her on but without her hat, but that's fine because we can do her hat separately. That's okay. It's all okay. I promise it is. Right, so I'm going to have to stamp this really, really carefully now to get it just where I want it to be. Yeah, I think I can just get her head in there. But actually, I think it might be quite quirky, her hat coming off. That was a complete accident, but I think it's going to work really well. So let's get the old VersaFine the clear. I'm going to ink that up, and I'm using one of the Be Crafty Slims, and I do highly recommend a slim stamping block. I found that my stamping has definitely improved. Oops, it says. Right, we'll pop that in there. So you can pop a bit of pressure. You want to pop a bit of pressure down. I can already see that I've not done perfect stamping, but to be honest, as we colour with pencil, we're going to lose some of the definition that we'll have to put back with pen anyway. So when we do that, we're going to lose the errors as well. So I'm just allowing time for the ink to transfer, but what you can also do is just flex it and make sure that the image is transferred. So that's flex, not bend. So that's her all stamped out. I said that's not perfect stamping, but on this occasion, just the way things work with pencil, and that's okay. It's really not a problem. So, as I said, I can imagine that I'm going to have to do the bulk of this. I'm actually just going to zoom you in a little bit so that you can hopefully see the colouring a little bit better. Okay, so as always, I am going to highly recommend that if you want to learn how to colour properly, that you check out the Kit and Clouder website. That is where I learnt to colour. There's a strange edit there. My camera battery ran out of battery. So as I was saying, if you're interested in learning more about colouring, I would highly recommend Kit and Clouder. She has a perfecting pencils class, which I did take. So I would suggest that you check that out. Obviously I did pay for the classes. I paid for that one and I paid for the technique ones, and like I've honestly not looked back. As well as teaching you how to colour, she has one-on-one feedback. It really helps to build your confidence, so she really is very, very good. So I will touch on a few things. Now obviously because we're colouring on Kraft, if I start laying down the skin colour first, it's going to have a something sticky on my hand. It's going to have a brown hue, so I want it to be as close to the skin colour as possible. So hence I've put a layer of white down. It means now as I build up my pencils, I'm going to end up, there's something sticky there that's bothering me, I'm going to end up with a truer skin colour. So same as I've maybe discussed before, that I'm now going to kind of build up the skin tones. Now it's really hard to describe with pencils. I am going, if you notice how far back I'm holding the pencil, I'm not going in. Once you burnish your pencil, it is very, very difficult from that point to build up colour and layers. And what makes pencils amazing is the blend that you can get. And to do that you kind of have to go slowly. I'm going really, really loose and building up that colour, and that means one layer will gradually lay on top of another layer, and we will build up some sort of colour. Only when I'm happy with how that coloured layer looks is when I would then go in and burnish. So this is why colouring, the effect of your coloured pencils on Kraft is just gorgeous. I absolutely love it, but it is a little bit time consuming. So you know, you do have to, I enjoy colouring. For some people they wouldn't be able to think of anything worse. If you hate colouring, this is probably not for you. But if you love it, it's a beautiful effect, and you just have to give it the time that it takes, and gradually build that up. And as I said, I'm just going to keep layering. The other thing with skin as well is it's not white. See how ghostly she looked when we just had the white down. It's not white. It's got shades of pink and peach and even blue in there as well. So I'm just sort of gradually building all of those up, and then we're going to have darker colours in the shadow areas and lighter colours. So what you will find as you layer your pencils up is that you will also lose the black work of your stamp, which is why I wasn't too worried that it didn't stamp absolutely perfectly, because we're going to gradually lose that anyway. So it's really not a problem, because what we'll have to do is we're going to sketch that back in with one of our fine liners. Now as I said, this is going to take quite a while, so I am going to pop you on fast forward as I continue to build this up. If I feel I'm doing anything interesting, I will let you know, but to be honest, look at Kit and Clouder for more information on that. So I'll see you once going to come on now, so I'm quite happy. She still looks a bit pale in comparison to the brown, but when we get the rest of the colours in, it'll make more sense. But I'm quite happy with the colouring now. So now, if you notice, I've stopped colouring from back here, which is where you get your light touch, and I've brought it down here, and this is where I'm going to get my burnishing, and I'm just going in circular motions, and I'm just rubbing that over, and then that's just going to finally fill in the last bit of the tooth from your work, and that's kind of what gives you that sort of final blend. So it's at this stage here that I'm going to push in a little bit harder, and as I said, you can kind of tell where I am in my process by where I'm holding my pencil. I also do have somewhere, like it's right here, I do have my fancy Kit and Clyde pencil brush. So you do get bits as you're brushing with your pencil, working with your pencil, so it's good to sort of regularly flip them away. So I thought that was sort of interesting to show you where I sort of changed the pressure. But now I'll go back to colouring on speed. So I've come off speed up to look at the burnishing again, so I'm going to be doing multiple tones of burnishing here, which is different from the skin. So again, I'm holding my pencil close. I don't know if you can see that. I'll see how much I can actually manage to zoom in. So we've got a really good coverage of colour all round there, and the depth of colour is looking really good. But I don't know if you can just see, it just looks ever so slightly grainy, and that's what can happen with your pencil. So it looks good, but we've got this grainy, and that's because the pigment is sinking into the tooth. Once you get to the stage where you're happy with that, we want to take away all of those little gaps, and we do that through burnishing. So pushing harder is going to fill that tooth. But as I said before, once we've pushed hard, then we can't blend on top, so that becomes more difficult. So I'm going really, really close, and in those dark areas where I'm happy with this colour, I am pushing really quite hard, and I'm going in circular motions, and that is me burnishing down. Okay, but I don't want a harsh line between this dark grey black colour and the next colour. So once I've kind of got those bits in, then I'm kind of going to loosen off my grip. And I'm going to go back to those, and then I'm going to do like a softer, so I've pulled out, so I've fully burnished on those really dark lines, but now I'm pulling out and I'm pulling that colour on, but this is a lot softer, there's still gaps. And that's going to allow me to lay the next colour on. So I'm pushing quite hard now, but then I'm easing off. As I said, Elise teaches this, and she has her pressure numbers as well. For me, the easiest way to describe it is, as I'm really burnishing, I'm close to the end of my pencil, so I'm doing that, and that's because I'm going harder, because I'm trying to get rid of those tooth marks. This is where you're liable to get these little extra bits, which if you can just flick them away, stop you damaging your work a bit later. Then you'll get your next darkest colour, and over that bit that I've just done, so I'm now going to burnish in with this darker purple, but because I was slightly lighter as I was pulling out of that shadow area, there is room for the pencil to go into the tooth because I've not pushed really, really hard. So I'm pushing hard where I don't want there to be a gap. But then, so we've kind of got that all done, and then I'm loosening my grip and I'm colouring in, but I'm not completely pushing down so that I fill all the gap. And then what that does is that's going to allow a little bit of tooth, which allows a little bit of room for the next pigment to come. And then so if you gradually burnish out, I'm trying to do this in a way that because I'll go back. So now I'm coming in with this colour. Now this is I'm pretty much burnishing most of this because I want I don't want there to be many gaps, but I'm leaving a tiny bit. I don't know if you can just see that. There's a tiny bit of like mottled effect going on there. And what that means, let me get into this little bit and then I'll do the rest on fast forward again. What that then means is when I come in with my lightest colour, I just basically burnish across the whole lot. So this is now going to take all the little gaps that might have been left from the transition areas, and we're going to rub really hard. I'm pushing down really hard. I'm getting a lovely waxy look, and it's that waxy look that looks fantastic against the Kraft. But as I said, you won't get the depth of colour if you go into this sort of pushing really hard right at the beginning. Okay, so I'm just going to carry that on, but I just thought it was an easier way for me to show you what I am trying to do. Is all coloured up, and as I said, what can happen when you use pencils, you can lose the definition of the stamp work. So if there are any areas that you feel needs addressed, you can just simply draw that back in. So I'm using my Jane Davenport pen. It's perfect because it literally writes over everything, including the waxiness of the pencils. So as you're colouring, if you find you're losing the definition, really don't worry about that, because that's something that we can fix later on. So I had a lovely time doing that. It took me ages, quite frankly, but it's been ages since I have actually coloured with my pencils. Honestly, years. And I've got a full set of Prismacolors sat there, which are obviously a very high quality pencil, and they don't get used as often as they should, and I think that's just because I'm more confident with the markers, and because I'm having to churn out colouring and stuff like that fairly quickly. I go for what I'm more confident with, so it was nice to be playing with something that I haven't played with in a while. So I will also get my white pen and do my little white doodles as well, because I just always find that adding a little bit of white just lifts the work for me. Makes me happy. So I'm going to add that white work. And just create a little bit of highlight. Just a wee black pen. Her lace has disappeared as well. So again, this is when this can all come to life, when you add just the final little details. we go. Let's continue with that white. Oops. Shouldn't have stopped if you're in the flow. There we go. Oops. It's not wanting to play for me now. Typical. Right. Might just be the waxiness that's clogging up the roller ball a little bit. So yeah, when I just wiped that, it made a difference. So sometimes it's good to be aware what your products are likely to do when they interact with each other. And as I said, it's maybe just a bit of surface wax still sitting on there, and it's clogging up the bottle. So there we go. And then I've also coloured up a little hat. So again, I'm just gonna add a little bit of the white work on there, and just to lift it a little bit. Okay, and then I'll get some glue. I've had a parcel from our Dawn, I think at the beginning of this. I don't know if it was at the beginning of this video or another video that I've recorded that I'll go on to my channel at some point. I was just saying that I was looking for glue and struggling to find it, and then I got a little parcel from our Dawn today with new glue in it. Very kind of her. And also another, she sent me our journal back as well, so she's done a page in it, which is fabulous. But I'll allow her to share that with her on her channel first. So that's her, and I quite like the way the hat sort of protrudes out. What should we do? I feel like I maybe want a few clouds. So we do have a spare bit of Kraft Card. So I think what I'll do with this is get my stamping block. I'm making this card and I'm thinking I've got to do another card and a tag using all of this. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna manage to do with the other ones. And I'd like to do lots more colouring, but I'm also filming the night before, as usual. I did start yesterday, but I'm also filming the night before, so you know, I don't know if time-wise I've got time for lots of lots of colouring. I'm going to make a few clouds because while I'm at it, because they'll probably go in the next few makes anyway. We all know I'm obsessed with clouds, so I may as well do a few as one. Right, let's see, let's get my spare sheet out. It's got colouring on the back, but it doesn't really matter because I'm only using it as a drop sheet anyway. So right, let's get some of this seafoam white, although I'm calling it seafoam white, but this is a different brand to the white that I used to have. What have they called it? Glacier white. So there you go, don't mind me. Right, I'm just going to tidy this away and heat gun it. That's my Little Mermaids, which I don't think I've shared on the channel yet. I have on Facebook. Life's just been so busy, but yeah, I must actually make something with one of those on my channel as well as on the old Facebook. Right, so I'm just going to grab my heat gun. I'll maybe watch a little bit of this turning, but not all of it. Ooh. Right, I do really love the effect of white against Kraft. So white embossing powder just works perfectly at it. I'm just trying to get that at an angle that you can maybe see it turn. I probably should have waited for the heat gun to heat up a little bit first. There we go. You're supposed to, but I was a bit impatient. It's supposed to be like, you know, like when you use your oven, you preheat your oven first. But I'm also of the, that's how I cook as well. Shove the oven on and shove it all in at the same time. And we've not died yet, so I think we're alright. It's working for me. Right, so I'll just finish embossing those and cut them out. Okay, so I've done that. All embossed and whatnot. And the glue is just It wouldn't be a video for me if I didn't fight with my glue at some point, would there? Come on. Come on. You can do it. There we go. So let's have her standing in some clouds. Oh, I do love Celeste. I think she's fabulous. Right. There we go. I was going to bring that down a little bit. I'll cut a bit of that off. And then we'll have one coming off the card here. As the glue is beginning to play ball a little bit more. There we go. And then, do I want another? I feel like we need another one down here. But to be honest, that's just for the need for 3. But let's see, if we chop this here, so we're going to have to chop that off anyway. Oops. Then we could probably just flip that round there, and then we've got our third one, but without having to use one of our clouds that we've got, so that's all good. Put that there. Okay. What do I think? I kind of want one up here, but then at the same time I quite like my cloud cut out shape thing, and I don't particularly want to mess with that unless I have it quite high, and that'll maybe cover the dodgy cut work that's just in that corner there. So we're getting there with this one. Okay, and then I've just got, sorry, I don't know what's, my blinds are closed, so why we're getting this shaft of light that's affecting my filming, I'm not completely sure. Okay, so unless I just open the blinds, that might help. Then I was thinking we could put this little banner. So this is Crazy Friends. That's from the Stamp-lamentals stamp set. So I'm just going to cut that down, and I've stamped and embossed that with the white embossing powder again. I'm just maybe going to turn that into a banner. And we'll just have that coming in. Maybe have it coming over the cloud a little bit. I think. Oh, sorry. There we go. I'm not quite sure what to do about dodgy light. As I said, the blinds are closed, so I'm not quite sure what else I can do. Right, we'll pop that there. Okay, and then, oops, I'm just going to get my white pen. Just move these held a little bit. So I'm going to get my white pen, and I'm just going to, hopefully, there we go, just doodle, scribble loosely round the edge, and just emphasise our fancy edge. And I just think the white looks fabulous. I mean, I've said it already, but I do like the white against the Kraft. It's not wanting to play ball, but if I give it a good scribble, that's fine. And I think what I'm also going to do is I'm going to do this while I can see it, so that I can match up the lines, and then I'll open the card and complete the frame on the inside as well, so that it makes sense. But I quite like, yeah. Oops, sorry. Oh, right. I will try and attempt to fix the lighting once I've finished doodling this. Oops. Just so that there's continuity between when you open the card, it still makes sense. It just doesn't have a random squiggle in one corner. Okay, I will be back once I fix the lighting. So I think on the second card I am going to do some more embossing. So this time, oh, I don't want the VersaFine clear, I want the Versa ink. I'm going to use the text part of this set. I really need to go and wash this stamp. It's got so much gunk on the back of it that it barely sticks to the stamp set anymore. So I'm going to push that down in some various places over the card. I might just try and catch some of the edges as well, like so. And then I will emboss again. She says, I'm just going back the same mermaid sheet, it's fine. It's all good. Probably cut it out anyway. Right, so I am going to just, I'll let you see the embossing powder catch it, but you've already seen me emboss once, so we're good. So that's that. Maybe ping the excess off. She says put more on, that's because I haven't caught that part of the stamp. Right, so I'm just going to attack that with my heat gun, and then we'll see where we go from there. So I have embossed that and then let it just sit because it did sort of warp the card, the heat on it a little bit. I've cut out some more of these. Because you've seen me colour in Kraft quite a lot for the other one, I've just coloured these off screen. So we just thought we'll just arrange these, and then that can be a nice quick card. I didn't do fussy colouring with these moons and stars because I didn't think it warranted it. So if we have something like that, maybe, or maybe do that higher up, because guess you'll never guess what I want to do with these stars. Yep, the dangle is about to strike. Okay, so let's get that stuck down. There we go. So I'll get that one and this one, and then I want to tuck the clouds. So there's a moon coming through the cloud. There we go. So I've got that. Like so. And I was wondering whether to sort of put the when it's dark look for stars, but to be honest it's quite the colours on it are quite neutral, so I'm not sure that that sentiment really fits, so I might actually go and do a card without a sentiment. I know, who knew? Right, I need an uneven number of clouds or it will bother me. I don't like that. Right. Maybe that. Will we go with that? Right, so we'll pop those down, and then I will stick my stars down, and then we'll just finish that off with a little bit of doodling. And then we'll go on to our tag. I'm still really intrigued as to what on earth Dawn has done. The fact that she said, oh, I never thought of colouring, it's like really thrown me. It's like I've got embossing powder everywhere. I'm gonna have to clean it. I'm gonna have to clean everything. Right, I'm having trouble sticking these down now. Let's have a workout of an arrangement of these. So, got those, and then yeah, maybe we'll have 3 as dangles, and then two tucked in amongst the arrangement. She says. That's 2. I think these 2 need to be grouped together somehow. But I was something like, yeah, we'll go for something like that. So we'll pop those in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just the card that I've been using to stamp and cut these out. I've not actually used my white card, but I don't know that I will. To be honest, I'll pop that in as a kindness for Dawn. See, because I'm nice. Many may not agree. I think I'm lovely. Oh dear. Right. I'm not putting dimension on any of these. To be honest, they're sort of sitting proud of the card anyway, and the cardstock is quite thick, so it's sort of naturally giving a bit of a dimension anyway. Right. Let's get the old white pen out. So let's see, oops, if we can turn that into a dangle, just about. I mean, we could have stamped, I've got things that I could have stamped that would have made more prominent dangles, but I can live with that. Quite happy with that. Okay, and then I'm just going to try and do a white border around this card, and then you can see that we've got 2 done. So just because you've got a character stamp, I mean obviously the main character in the Celeste stamp is Celeste, and it's really easy just to look at the main character and just to see that, especially on the packaging and everything. That's what gives it the impact. It's what you see first, no doubt about it. But all these little extra stamps, you know, they are, you know, feature images in their own right. I really like how that's turned out actually. Right, I'm going to cut my tag and I'll be back. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I'm going to attempt to give this a little bit of a mixed media vibe. So I'm going to get my Versafine or Versamark, and I'm just going to go through these clouds with a stencil, like so, and I might just try and flip that and well, at the top. Sorry, I was trying to decide whether to go top or bottom with that. Right, and then I'm also just going to brush this around all the edges. The other thing that you could do if you don't have something like this and you're trying to emboss bigger sections like I am here is use glycerine, which normally I probably would. If there's a random edit there, I flipped my paper that I was using as, you know, to protect my desk, and because some of the Versamark would have ended up on the paper, so it would have all stuck. My embossing powder would have stuck to my back sheet, as it were, which would have just been a waste of the embossing powder. So I flicked it, and then realised on the other side of it was stencils. Like new stencils have arrived they're not even the release that's coming out next week, it's the one after that. So I was like, oh no, I'm not supposed to show those. So yeah, if there's a random edit, it's because I had to stop you from seeing secret stuff, sorry. So I'd obviously made a bit of a mess in the way that I got all of that on there. So I've just knocked back the bits that I don't want. So I'm just going to emboss that and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so that's looking quite good, even if I say so myself. Okay, so just to sort of build on these textures now, I'm going to grab my gesso again and see if I can find a stipple brush in my pot. Should be one. I'm just going to say it's hiding. It's hiding. Right. So I'm just going to grab bits of gesso and let's just try and soften that with my finger a little bit as well. And then hopefully we can just, some with my finger, that's just to sort of make it a bit lighter. I'm wanting to sort of see the contrast between the shapes. Right, I'll go heavier again. And I'm putting it over the embossed detail as well. And that'll just because it's going to give, as you look at it, it means part of the bits that we've done are going to look shiny and part of it is going to look matte. That's bothering me now because I should have flipped the stencil around so it looks too samey. So I'm just going to fill that in. You get a more natural look if you flip your stencil back and forth and use the different edges. It's going to look more uneven. But it's fine, we'll make it work. Now it's a little bit untidy because obviously as I'm flipping it around there's gesso on the back which we're then placing down. But I think we're alright. So that's looking alright, I think. So we will let all of that dry. I have no idea what I'm doing next. It's interesting when working with such a monochrome palette. I don't know now whether to put stars in that are yellow or whether to just stamp and emboss Celeste. I might try that. And then I'm just going to fill this bottom bit in, I think, so that it marries up to those bits there. It's just so we've got a bit of grinding to attack. Oh, that looks, I mean, considering we're on a limited supply sort of thing, I think that looks alright. Cool. Right, I'm going to try just stamping out Celeste on a piece of Kraft card. I've got a tiny bit left. Okay, if I'm really honest, I'm a bit unsure about this because I don't think her face looks great embossed like that. So I thought I'm going to try maybe just popping a little bit of colour in her cheeks and maybe her lips and just seeing what that does. Just see if I don't know. Oh, I apologise if you can hear that. I don't know what that my daughter and husband are playing, but they're screaming that the world will end, so obviously playing some sort of nonsense. But I'm just wondering that if because I'm not colouring properly now, I'm sort of speed colouring, which means I'm burnishing far too soon. I just don't even know if that's going to make a difference. I think it just maybe looks a bit silly. If I'm going to try over stamping with black, because it's VersaFine clear, it should go on the various surfaces. Yeah, so I'm thinking let's get some stars on here. Now this is going to be interesting because the pencil is not going to colour over the embossing. I suppose I could possibly gesso it first to try and find out what happens, or I can just try colouring over it and see what happens first. I'm liking the build up of stars though in the black and white, that's cool. I like that. I might actually bring one of the other, I've got border stamp and the Stamplamentals which I may use as well. Because I think the black against the Kraft and the and the white is looking really good. Let's get a few more stars in. Just again, I've got it in two areas, so I need it in a third. So we'll do that like so. Okay, that's slid a bit there, but that's alright. I think that looks okay. I've got this stamp here. As I said, I do apologise for the noise. Don't really know what's occurring. I'm going to pop this in a few different places. I'm trying to avoid where the embossing finger is because it doesn't stamp quite as well on that. I like, right? She says going for a highly embossed bit right now. Now I'm wishing that I had like paint pens or something on this, because to be able to pop a bit of colour in there would be fabulous, but it's not on the list. So we will just have to work it out. As I said, the only thing I can do is maybe, I'll try colouring them. I'm just going to heat set those. I'm going to not do it too long though, because I don't want to be remelting the embossing powder. It'll go a bit funky. Right, so what we're going to find is the pencils are not going to go over the embossed area. So I'm just going to colour what we've got and see what occurs. And we will go from there, because there might be enough gesso on some of it that it's... I see it's not going on that one. I can maybe try and come and correct the ones that are not doing anything. So I'm going in with a darker orange. I probably should have waited a little bit longer for the Verso Fine Clear to dry. Yeah, a little bit of gesso on the areas that aren't too slick should be enough, but that's going to be some extreme fine tip painting, so I'm going to try and get away with it and see what happens. It's looking alright actually. It's giving it a mixed look, each star is looking different. As I said, I'm going straight into burnishing stage here. I'm not thinking about the blending, but I'm not looking for incredibly accurate colouring at this point. This is just more of a look, more of a hint of colour rather than accurate colouring, so I'm quite happy with that. So have you enjoyed this one? Have you found it useful? Is Kraft Card a product that you use a lot of? My black's pulling into my colour in there a little bit. It's not, oh, it might, if I push really hard, we're getting a little bit of colour. I can always cover that with something or other. There we go. Got something. There you go. You never know till you try. It's not something I wouldn't have picked my Prisma pencils out for writing over a slick surface. I wouldn't say they're the best in the world, but if you've nothing else, it does work, because I've managed. Just have to burnish quite hard. There we go. Right, I might just grab some of these other colours and let's get some more colour in this. I'm thinking I might do some sketchy lines as well. This tag is going to be so random. But as I've coloured in like that, I'm just wondering whether if I got my stencil out again and sort of sketched some of the clouds. So where's my, in random colours, let me get some get some blues to start off with, but I think some of the pinks and things that we've got will be quite fab now. Where have I thrown the stencil? La 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 la. So I'm thinking I'm going to start off with, let's just kind of, because it's the only way we've got of introducing a bit of colour, that we could just add some clouds this way. We actually probably could, I wonder if I got my gesso and some water and pulled away from the pencil. Let's try that. Right, totally experimenting here now. I get some gesso. This is probably what Dawn did with her pencils. Will that, oh look, see? Gorgeous. Right, so if I get my water and my gesso, I can pull the colour of that out of it. That's fun. Awesome. I'm happy. Maybe this is what Dawn, I was intrigued to see what on earth she was doing with her pencils if she wasn't colouring. Maybe this is what she did. That would be so funny. We've done some Dawn and Julia creates before, and it's like, even though our results end up so different, sometimes the techniques or the ideas that we've used have been so similar, it's been scary. It would be hilarious if Dawn mixed pencil colours with gesso and water to create a coloured paint. How funny would that be? Trouble is, I had an idea in my head of wanting to do colouring, so that's kind of where I sort of stuck with it. But because Dawn was maybe thrown a little bit and didn't have a preconceived idea, she just tackled it very differently. I have no idea what I'm going to do after, but you know, we're managing to create a sort of a colouredy cloud effect, which I think is quite cool. Pencil in there again. Awesome. I mean, at one point, whilst I was prepping this, I was like, what on earth I was going to do, and I was thinking I would quite like the tag to have a bit more of a mixed media vibe to it, and I was like, well, what can I do for texture? And at one point I did think about taking the pencil sharpenings and mixing it with the gesso to create a texture piece. I can't believe how well that's worked. That is so cool. There you go. This is kind of why I bang on and on and on about when it comes to mixed media, the basics. You should, you know, if you don't know where to start, sometimes it's like, what do I get? There's so many mediums and there's so many types of texture paste, and then the texture paste come in a gazillion colours, and it's what colours do I want, what will I use? And I always say, if you're starting out, all you need is some gel medium for sticking things, some gesso. Personally, I would recommend black, white and transparent, and some pigment powders, because you can build your colour. You can build all your various colours with your pigment powders. I might stamp some more stars after having done this, because it'll just add to the sort of layered effect, and also I might get a better quality of colouring. But that just shows you, even if you don't have pigment powders, if you've got pencils knocking about the house, I mean, most of us do, you might manage just with a pencil as well. That's cool. I'm going to do a break in the blue and then bring a bit, I'll maybe bring a bit of it down just here. And then have some with just the craft like we had before, and then I will add a little bit more at the bottom. What I might do is stamp out and colour some clouds in random colours, you know, like pink and yellow and things like that, and stick them on. That could be fun. I have no idea how long this video will be. I have fast forwarded a fair amount for you though, so hopefully it'll not be too horrendous. Yeah, I'm filling that bit I said I was going to keep. And we're picking up the grey. We're picking up all sorts here, so we're getting a right random mix of bits and bobs going on here. Right, well, I'm excited at the fact, the technique I've managed to create here, but I think the tag sort of looked better before. So now what I'm going to do with the whole thing, I don't know. So, look at that, colours smudging. Fab. Right, well, that was fun. Yeah, right, I'm going to give it a waft. Or we do have the flowers and the stamp mementos, so actually maybe we could just stick a few flowers on it. I also do have a white sheet of paper. So I did that. Right, I'm just trying to let that cool down, and then I'm just going to edge this. Well, I did want to create a mixed media tag, so I think I've done that, so I'm pleased with that. Just where to go now, I'm not 100% sure. As I said, I'm thinking that we might stamp out some of the flowers. I could have done with string or something right now. I was thinking that I could wax string around that, that would be quite fabulous. But yeah, we've got these flowers here, so we could maybe just, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Stamp out a few of those. I think I'll stamp them on a white card though, because we were allowed one sheet of white card, and then that means I've used everything in the brief. So what I will do is I will stamp out some of these, maybe 3 of each, colour them, and then I will come back. Okay, so I've got my flowers, just did 3 in the end. My hand's sore from colouring. It's like, right, I'm going to edge. I also stamped out Best Memories, which is also in the Stamplimental set. Not very even cutting, but that's fine. I thought what we'll do is we'll stick that down and then pop the flowers on. I might just sort of try and give them a bit of dimension by cutting into them a little bit. I think this bookmark's going to need to sit under a pile of books or something, because it's curving a little bit. Right, so we'll just snip into the petals a little bit, and that'll just give us a little bit of wiggle room to be able to shape these a little bit more, so that there's a bit more dimension to them. So we'll do that. Yeah, I don't know what I'd expected for this tag when I was doing it. It's like, oh, I've got to make a tag. Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I think it's okay, but I'm not 100% sure. I think under normal circumstances, right now, I'd be reading my bit box and finding lots of little bits and bobs just to sort of arrange and finish it off, but we don't have that luxury today because we're working to a limited supplies, and that's fine, because sometimes doing that tests your creativity. Like, for example, I've now learned that if I mix my pencils with gesso and water, because these aren't watercolour pencils, these ones, these are Prismacolors, but I've still managed to pull it out and create a bit of colour. So that's something I've learned. So it's been worthwhile from that perspective. Right, I think what I'm going to do is coloured pink splashes would have been nice, but obviously I don't have that luxury. So I'm just going to actually colour a few little pink dots in various places. I'm just trying to extend that pink so that it's in the rest of the project. Let's get some of them in different tones. Just to bring that out. I like that, and now I'm going to grab my white pen again, which should be on my desk, and I'm just going to scribble round some of those dots that I've drawn just to make them a little bit more of a feature. There we go. Maybe just have a few white dots on their own. Maybe we could do white splashes if we wanted, but I've got my white pen in my hand now, so I'm just going with that. There we go. And then finally I will just grab my, I think this might have worked had the tag been a bit shorter, but it's fine. I'm going to grab my Jane Davenport pen and just do some scribbly doodly border. Just think it's going to bring the eye in a little bit and hopefully just tie everything together a little bit. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to tidy my desk. Look at this. We're writing over embossing powder. Love these pens. I know you hear me get excited about what these pens manage to write over on many occasions, but it's always like, yay, look at that, look at what I just did. Right, so that's the tag. So let me just bring everything together. So that's my 3 projects there, the 2 cards and the tag. Just so enjoyed getting my pencils out and colouring on Kraft. I think it's such an impactful look, so I did enjoy doing that. I love this as well. Still unsure about this one, but yeah, that's fine. You live and learn. If you please would pop over and see our Dawn. I know she will have smashed this challenge. I honestly cannot wait to see what she has done. If you've enjoyed it here, please do consider liking and subscribing, and I will be back with you very soon. Okay, take care then, and goodbye.